This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. Coming up, U.S. government pledges to support Ghana's request for a $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund as the Western ally seeks to further deepen our cooperation with the private sector.
The current economic crisis requires IMF assistance. I think that's why those international financial institutions were created. So we've urged the government of Ghana to negotiate with the IMF with urgency, and then as a board member, we'll support those programs.
Minority advocated capping of the Supreme Court to 13 judges after Parliament approved 2 of President Akufo-Addo's 4 nominees to the highest court.
We have seen significant numbers appointed under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to the Supreme Court of Ghana. In the name, as you read his own appointment letter, anticipated vacancies. Ghana does not need more than 13 justices of the Supreme Court.
Don't give in to promoters of war. Supreme Court Judge Justice Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu cautions against any plot to overthrow Ghana's constitution.
Surviving a war was sometimes as difficult as surviving a peace.
We have details as the former professor of law at the University of Ghana also calls on the political class to be mindful of the social temperature in the country. Later in business, some savings and loans companies hit by panic withdrawals due to the uncertainty surrounding the debt exchange program.
Yes, they are rushing to take their deposits. And unfortunately, those who are also owing the banking institutions are defaulting on their loans. And so we think that we have not gotten to the point where we should be experiencing this.
Hello again, many thanks for choosing us. I'm Ernest Manu. Let's settle for the details now. The United Nations government says it will approve Ghana's application for an economic bailout with the International Monetary Fund at the board level. Journey sources revealed the IMF and Ghana are expected to reach a staff-level agreement on the loan deal by Tuesday. A board-level approval remains the only hurdle for Ghana to access the much-needed bailout. In a yet-to-be-aired interview on Foreign Affairs later tonight, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, revealed that Ghana's request to be supported at the board level will be supported by the U.S.
And peace building. Given Ghana's current economic crisis, how are you working to expedite that?
Well, the current economic crisis requires IMF assistance. I think that's why those international financial institutions were created. So we've urged the government of Ghana to negotiate with the IMF with urgency, and then as a board member, we'll support those programs. And further to that, we work with Ghanaian business and the Ghanaian government to strengthen the business environment so that Ghana lives up to its international reputation. It's important that problems with contract sanctity, problems with local hiring, problems with corruption don't undermine that, if I'm honest. And I think friends speak honestly to friends. For the $138 million, trying to keep me on point.
I'm interested in that as well.
I was very pleased to be able to announce those additional funding. A lot of that work will focus on agriculture and stimulating support for your agriculture sector, because that, again, is an engine for economic growth. And we do, again, techniques that improve farming for farmers, but we also work with financial institutions, for example, to try to leverage finance for small and medium enterprises in the agriculture and agro-processing sectors. So one of our programs, we think, will unleash something like $270 million of investment in that very important sector.
And the United States remains the only country with the highest special drawing right of about $180 billion. Joining me via Zoom is my colleague, Blessed Suga, who is with the international desk here at Joy News. Blessed, first of all, why is this announcement crucial to Ghana's IMF bailout request?
Well, and just as you mentioned earlier, the United States has a special interest in the International Monetary Fund. They hold a special quota of about 17.46% in terms of special drawing rights. That's amounting to some 118 billion US dollars in terms of monetary value. So it tells you the kind of say such a nation has at the board level when it is that when that time comes for them to decide on the future of countries that apply to the International Monetary Fund for austerity or what you would call a bailout program. We know that Ghana, as we speak, is at the second level when it comes to our attempt to assess some funding from the International Monetary Fund. Our sources are telling us clearly that there's a high-powered delegation as we speak in the country negotiating with our government officials. So the next phase after this staff level agreement, which we understand will be ready by next week, will be that crucial board level approval, because without the board level approval, you would not be able to get the IMF deal. And being the largest, if you want to call them shareholder in this regard, it is a big announcement to have the United States government say, well, we'll support the Republic of Ghana on your course to getting an austerity plan with the International Monetary Fund. But what's instructive is that when you find key officials and diplomats of the U.S. government, such as the Ambassador Palmer, indicating that the IMF is the only feasible way out for the Republic of Ghana, then it tells you that indeed we have the backing of one of the world's largest economies, and that will augur well for us. Already, the U.S. government is pledging about $138 million US dollars in funding for our development program. So this will be an add-on, and of course, it will therefore mean that we're likely to get that deal as soon as possible. We're targeting the first quarter of next year, but it may come earlier, looking at this announcement that we're receiving from the United States.
Announcement is coming at a time when the U.S. President Joe Biden is meeting with African leaders from next week. What do we know about this meeting and Ghana's participation?
Well, so that's called the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. It's a special summit that's coming as a fallout of some of the changing dynamics in world politics. Of course, the U.S. State Department is indicating that they would use this summit to demonstrate the long interest of the U.S. in terms of its relations with Africa, so as to increase cooperation on shared global priorities. So it's important that we state that because, of course, the U.S. is a key promoter of democratic principles, so that will definitely feature at this conference. But what is key for countries heading to this U.S.-Africa summit, and for countries such as Ghana, would be to foster a new economic engagement. You know that for a long time, the U.S. is facing threats from the East, including the likes of China, which is becoming an alternative when it comes to supporting in official development assistance. So having this opportunity to meet the world leaders such as Joe Biden, of course, we're expecting that President Akufo-Addo will be hosted as well by next week, and will make that key negotiation move to try and get the support of the U.S. at such a crucial time when our economy needs some level of bailout. So these are some of the matters that will feature. There's the issue of good governance and democracy as well. There are issues relating to, of course, the need to reinforce human rights and to amplify diaspora ties as well. You know, we're running Ghana Beyond Aid and the Beyond the Return initiative. These are matters that may feature, including food security and climate. Of course, we're just returning from COP27, so you know that the U.S. government would also be keen on that. And those are issues that I guess the U.S. ambassador to Ghana will be speaking to in your interview, which will air later tonight. Blazer, thank you very much. I look forward to that interview here on the Joy News channel. That's my colleague Blazer Tsuga. He is with the international desk here at Joy News. Let's do some other stories on security. The Ghana Police Service has vowed to apprehend a gang of armed robbers that shot a lady suspected to be of Asian descent and made away with a lump sum of money. Eyewitnesses say the assailant first immobilized her vehicle and later shot through the window. My colleague Michael Ashali has more in the following report.
Sounds of residents rushing to the rescue of the victim of a shooting incident at Caprice near Aveno Junction. Eyewitnesses tell Joy News there were 4 persons on separate motorbikes. They first shot at the tires of the Toyota Prado and later fired another from the rear of the passenger side.
I heard a motor sound, pa, pa. I thought it was those kind of car riders who were just playing.
An eyewitness who would want to remain anonymous narrates the incident.
So as I came out, I was like, nah, what I'm hearing is not that exhaust sound. It was a real gun sound, and it was heavy too. So I was trying to get close, and I saw 4 guys on a bike using AK, and they gave warning shots. They shot the 3-wheel, they shot 1 back mirror, and I think they shot the hands. So the hands were, the middle finger was off. So they just took, I think, 2 bags from the car and just moved out.
The occupant of the vehicle is believed to be of Asian descent. In the process, 2 of the fingers were injured after colliding with the bullets from the shot through the window.
So I hid myself because I don't want them to see me. So I saw everything. They shoot the car in front of the glass. So after I said, bring the money, bring the money. So I don't know what to do. So I just know, let me hide myself so that I can see them very well.
Miriam
normally
Mohammed
that is what I said.
She was one of the few at the
they
scene.
shoot the woman. The woman which was
she offered first aid
inside the car. She doesn't want to give the money, and another one to shoot. So that's when the woman gave the money to them, and another one of the guys went to the driver's side, shoot the woman's hands. So the reason why I came, I went there to help the woman because I'm a health worker. I don't want the woman to lose her life. So when I got there, I took the woman inside the car. So I was looking for a taxi so that I can send him to hospital or ambulance. No, it's only the fingers from this side. So when I got to that place, I hold this one. I just make it so that this one will not fall down. Okay. Yeah, that's what I saw.
So what exactly did you give her? First aid, right?
Gets inside to the car. She was crying, help, help. So I opened the car. So I take him like I say, baby, you are taking a baby from here. That's how I take him. So when I drop him down and he said, madam, please, my phone. So I went inside the car and I picked the phone to the woman. And she was making a call. She was talking in Chinese language. So I don't understand that language.
The police in a statement said it was pursuing the assailants and would surely get them arrested to face justice. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
The Ashanti Regional Security Council is expected to take a decision on calming a simmering tension between nomadic herdsmen and farmers in the Ejura-Seche-Dumase municipality this Friday. This comes as the Ejura Traditional Council bans the movement of nomadic herdsmen into communities within Ejura. The regional minister, Simon Osei-Mensah, has called for calm as measures are being taken to find a lasting solution to the problem. This wonderful report.
The Ejura Traditional Council has taken a decision to flush out nomadic herdsmen and their cattle in communities within the area. This was after farmers and inhabitants accused the herdsmen of being behind recent robbery attacks, including the killing of a police constable and destruction of farms in recent times. Leadership of the Fulani community has cautioned plans by the security agencies to stop the movement of cattle approaching the limits of Ejura threatens security of farms, but the traditional authority is unwilling to soften its stance. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah believes the nomadic herdsmen will have to find means of restricting their cattle from destroying farms as efforts are made to address the situation. He says the Security Council will be guided by lessons from similar incidents at Agogo in the Asante-Achem North districts.
If I plant my maize, I don't think the maize can move. The element that moves is the cattle. So if I go to sleep and the next day I come back and cattle has consumed all my crops, the person I have to blame is that is the cattle owner. We should find a better balance between the rearing of the cattle and the crop farming. When we meet, we take a decision on that. All that we've informed the chiefs and people of Fedra that they should exercise some patience and some restraint, and we going forward, we find a solution to the problem.
The minister spoke on the sidelines of an event to inaugurate the board of the Peace Council in the Ashanti region. 13 members, including 6 retained board members, were inaugurated. Board member of the National Peace Council, Nana Ejakoma Diffie II, urged the regional members to discharge their duties effectively.
Our core value should be measured by fostering friendship, promoting trust, tolerance, goodwill, and community recognition. I will call on the incoming members of the Regional Peace Council to buckle up because the task ahead is critical for the development of our society and will require your full commitment, sacrifice, and dedication.
Chairman of the Ashanti Regional Peace Council, Reverend Ben Nuhu Abubakar, says the board is poised to play its role efficiently.
I've been a member for the past 4 years. We had a lot of conflicts. We have chieftaincy disputes in this region, a lot of chieftaincy disputes. We have youth agitations. The galamsey is very rife in this area. We can handle any of them and bring about peace.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Supreme Court Judge, Her Ladyship Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, has cautioned against any plot or schemes by groups or individuals to overthrow the democratically elected leader of the country and the Constitution. Having witnessed at first hand the devastation of war during her tenure as former Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Liberia, the former Professor of Law at the University of Ghana highlighted the grim consequences of any such unconstitutional act on the people. She's also called on political class to be cautious of the social temperature of the country in order to maintain the peace. She made the call at the launch of her biography, Joy, a biography of Henrietta Mensah Bonsu by Kofi Akpabli at the University of Ghana Thursday evening.
The over 400-page book touches on the life of Henrietta, who was on the brink of death at 18 months old, to a woman who has risen through the ranks to become one of Ghana's biggest legal exports to the world. In a captivating review of Joy, the biography of Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, lawyer Samson Ladi Ayeneni said, the foreword alone is as captivating as it is revealing, and justified why everyone needs to get a copy of the book.
You will read about this in chapter 22. In this chapter, you will read about the telephone call from the presidency to Prof. At the time she was asleep. Her husband answered the call. Her sleep had been disturbed, but she was calm about it because the purpose, once again, was a call to duty for God and country. You guessed wrong. It had nothing to do with her present duty as a judge.
Longtime friend and associate of the celebrant, Professor Audrey Sichope Gajekpo, was full of praise for her former workmate, who she says remains a trailblazer.
Those of you who attend parties in the Mensah Bonsu residence can testify under oath. Her dexterity on the dance floor and her karaoke skills. She loves to sing. Professor Mensah Bonsu's academic prowess is also legendary. Rita so mesmerized my dad with her inaugural lecture titled Transplanting the English Oak, Legalism, Legality, Legal Pluralism, and the Criminal Law of Ghana, that he immediately started dreaming of his daughter following in her footsteps and so charge her with the responsibility of making sure that happens. Sure, no easy task. But yes, even when assigned tasks she has little control over, she's able to deliver.
Her leadership, Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, has seen firsthand the destruction and scars of war, particularly in Liberia. With that experience still fresh on her mind, the celebrant used the platform to admonish Ghanaians not to give in to the promoters of war, who she says always benefit from same.
Life in peacetime could be so difficult as to make the survivors envy the war dead. Maintaining our peace and working through our problems within a peaceful Ghana is what holds a good future for all of us, particularly those of us with our best years already behind us. Those of us entrusted with leadership must always keep an eye on the social temperature of the polity and maintain our social cohesion to keep our polity at peace. It must never be forgotten that some people profit by war and will stop at nothing to promote their commercial interests.
Henrietta Joy Mensah Bonsu has undoubtedly dedicated her life to service of country and the world. It remains to be seen what task and challenge she will take up in the years ahead.
Then my living shall not be in vain. I thank you.
There's a strong push by the minority in Parliament to cap the numbers of judges at the Supreme Court. The Constitution says the highest court shall consist of a Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices. Speaking during the consideration of the Appointments Committee report on the nomination of Justice Barbara Frances Akanyesu and Samuel Kwame Adibu, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu warned that if the court is not capped, a president may take advantage and park it with loyalists. Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante has more.
Approved the nominations of His Excellency the President of the following persons as Justices of the Supreme Court in accordance with Article 1442 of the 1992 Constitution.
President Akufo-Addo has, since he assumed office in 2017, nominated 15 judges to the Apex Court, the highest in the nation's history. The minority leader accuses the president of taking advantage of the Constitution to pack the courts and has been recommending a cap on the number of judges who sit at the highest court.
We have seen significant numbers appointed under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to the Supreme Court of Ghana. In the name, as you read his own appointment letter, anticipated vacancies, where there is no ceiling provided. I want to believe that the framers of the Constitution assume that Parliament will provide for those limitations. We cannot have an open-ended. So, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow, if a particular president decides that he wants to appoint 25 justices of the Supreme Court, we will say because of jurisdiction, it must be. That is what this Constitution provides. But, Mr. Speaker, it has always been my position that
Former Majority Leader Cletus Avoka backs this position.
2 days ago, I heard on the social media that 2 former Chief Justices, the former Chief Justice Sophia Addo, Akufo rather, and then the current one, Justice Anin, had indicated that there should be no capping for the Supreme Court because of the volume of work at that level. While we appreciate that there could be a lot of work to be done at the Supreme Court, I still think that it is useful, having regard to the exigencies of the situation and the experiences that we have gone through, to have a capping.
But NP for Kaikwe Central, Patrick Boama, says if Parliament wants to do something about this, it can, but should stop sounding helpless.
This House, we cry too much over nothing, because we have the powers to take certain actions if we want to cap or expand or limit the number of justices of the court, the number of justices who can serve on the court.
President Akufo-Addo nominated 4 judges to the Supreme Court. 2 have now been approved and 2 are in the pipeline. Justices Ernest Kojo and Justice Kingsley Kumsin will know their fate soon, but we now know that the minority on the committee are resisting their approval and they will not get consensus approval in the House. We do not know yet when exactly the appointments committee will lay the report on those 2 judges in the House. But those 2 judges, like I've mentioned to you, are facing some fierce resistance by some members on the appointments committee. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Away from Parliament, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice says it continues to struggle in many of its decisions following investigations under the Asset Declaration of Public Officers. The Commission says it currently has more than 500 cases of asset declarations by public officers on its table, and the passage of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers bill into law will help deal with the issues decisively. Speaking at a ceremony to mark International Day of Anti-Corruption, Shraj boss Joseph Whittal urged Cabinet to expedite action on the bill for legislative action. Richard Kojo attended the event and has come through with this report.
Chapter 24 of the 1992 Constitution provides for the Code of Conduct for Public Officers in Ghana, dealing with conflict of interest, declaration of assets and liabilities, and oath of office. However, there is no legislation or act of parliament to give effect to the constitutional provisions on the Code of Conduct. This has made the implementation of the Code of Conduct under Chapter 24 a challenge, despite the mandate given the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice and the Chief Justice to investigate breaches of the Code of Conduct and take such actions. Shraj boss Joseph Whittal says investigating matters of asset declaration and conflict of interest is not the issue, but a legal regime that will spell out sanctions appropriately. He cited the case of the EC boss Jane Mensah and the Chief Justice, Justice Eni Yabua's case as classical examples.
When a law is passed, sanctions are set out. This particular, the constitutional provisions in Chapter 24 do not create sanctions, but gives it to the discretion of the Commission. And discretion has also been interpreted to be said that it must be done under certain circumstances. So it restricts the Commission from wanting to go beyond a certain level. We have since still been handling certain type of cases, but I gave those 2 examples as outlier cases. One, in the course of the investigation, the person goes to. So what do you do? And then the other one, the complaint comes, but a day before the complaint, the person had already gone ahead to declare. So what do you do? So you need proportionately, you have to know how to handle this. But it would have been easier if there was a law that says, look, not only about discretion, but there is a sanction if somebody has breached it. So 1 day breach is civil enough. This is what should happen.
Mr. Whittal called on Cabinet to expedite action on the bill.
Assets declaration is one huge area, dealing with about 500. And the nature of the public offices is something that is interesting. One complaint alone, through a right to information request to the Auditor General, has enabled them to know the number of persons who have not declared and the people that have been brought before the Commission.
About 500 of them?
About 500 of them, roughly speaking. Now we also think we are looking at also who would have thought that the judges, Superior Court judges, would be under the scrutiny of the public. Yeah, but there are complaints about that have come, allegations against Superior Court judges for non-declaration of assets. They are also with us.
Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice Alfred Tuah says the fight against corruption requires a concerted effort.
In Ghana, what I've seen is that people talk about corruption, but if you ask them to come up with information, they refuse to come, even though we have various acts or laws seeking to protect people who give information about corruption. So the fight is not one person's fight, it's a collective fight. We all need to get involved, we all need to speak up, we all need to make sure that people who engage in corruption are not glorified. Because if, for example, I engage in corruption it should be possible for my own people, even my family, to disown me and tell me that what I've been doing is not proper.
The Commission and its partners say they intend to use this year's International Anti-Corruption Day to build a broad coalition of public and private sectors and civil society for a robust conduct of public officers' law that can effectively curb corruption and ensure that it is passed into law. Reporting for Joy News, Ernest Kojo Manu, Accra.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. We're taking a break. On We're 10, we'll take you to the Accra Zoo because it has been reopened after close to 4 months of closure. The Forestry Commission is assuring security has been enhanced. Authorities of the Forestry Commission have assured security at the Accra Zoo has been enhanced. It comes as the Commission officially reopened the zoo almost 4 months after it was closed, when a man was found to have been devoured by a lion in August this year. There's more in this report by Lois Day and Semefa Rejoice.
On August 29, Forestry Commission officials confirmed that an anonymous man had been killed by a lion after he climbed into the zoo enclosure. There are reports he may have planned to steal 2 rare white lion cubs to sell later. As officials of the commission closed the zoo to the public, the police opened an investigation into the attack, which left many Ghanaians in shock. Well, 4 months down the line, police are yet to establish the details of the attack, but zoo authorities have reopened the facility. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapo assured the public of their safety since security has been enhanced.
As we all know, a couple of months ago, we recorded an unfortunate incident when a middle-aged man intruded the lions' enclosure at this zoo, leading to his untimely death. Following this incident, the zoo was temporarily closed down on my instructions to allow investigations into the incident and to put in place the necessary security measures to forestall future occurrences. We are gathered here to reopen the Accra Zoo to the general public.
He says government has begun engagements to open zoos in all 16 regional capitals and acknowledged the economic benefits of ecotourism in the country.
In Africa, zoos and ecotourism have become major boosts to the economies of countries like Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Rwanda, and Zambia. The Kenyan economy, for instance, is said to have benefited some $4.2 billion from ecotourism in 2020 alone. We have plans to enhance and upgrade Kumasi Zoo, and also plans are far advanced to construct 3 new zoos in Tamale, Koforidua, and Takoradi. The plan is that eventually every regional capital of Ghana, all the 16 regional capitals of Ghana, should have a zoo. I therefore call on Ghanaians and foreigners that Accra Zoo is reopened to the public, and indeed they've even upgraded the animal species they have at the zoo. Now they have a zebra, and as you can see, they have lions and they have all kinds of animals here.
Zoo officials also told Joy News they have a new addition to the animals at the facility. Visitors to the zoo will now have the experience of seeing a zebra there. Lois Day and Semefa Rejoice report. Read to you.
Time now for the People's Voice. Fufu, Kokonte and Gobe. What do they have in common? Well, they rank as some of the cheapest foods for many people, but some people are unhappy because they can no longer afford them due to inflation and the general high cost of living. That was contained in today's latest edition of People's Voices when we took our microphones to the Accra Mall area.
Those who decided to get closer to the microphone, they were most concerned about the escalating cost of essential home items and food.
I'm complaining about transport.
foodstuffs to me, sir, and Yaman
The public must be loud about high cost of rice and soup. The manufacturers have even reduced the size of the product. But the price has been increased. They should try and reduce the price for us.
Brananu no makoch la kote konte 5 cedis. Bramanu mi hunse makote konte 5 cedis. Minim se se or Russia na or Ukraine.
Operators of food joints are not helping things.
7 cedis. Utako 2 cedis. Minia, oba sorry so utako 2 cedis.
5 cedis of my favorite food is not enough anymore. It used to fill my tummy. They are always increasing their price. How can we afford?
Others were more concerned about the fast deteriorating Accra-Tema motorway.
The motorway is my major concern. You always hear there is an accident on the motorway. They should try and put it back in shape.
We are really struggling. The entire stretch of the motorway is very bad. We need it fixed.
I'm a citizen of Ghana. Government, we breed you that if I tear the petrol top, maybe 10 cedi or so, we like it. I am a Uber driver. I pay my tax to the government. Nanado, we beg you. You know, say the way you do free education, no, you go free do the petrol like that. When the petrol rise up, then everything is for Ghana here. We beg you, government, do something about it.
For the young folks, they want government to work to provide more jobs.
It's actually bad. The way the system is going in Ghana, it's actually bad at all. Like seriously, we are not seeing top. You can't buy fuel, you can't buy food, nor any other thing. See, the government is really killing us. Rising up dollar, doing everything on your own as if the whole country is in your pocket. Now, if you are listening to me, I'm here. I'm a youth of this nation. The way the system is going, and every youth listening to me right now should rise up. Seriously. The police are also killing us on the road. Yes. The police are also killing us. Everybody is trying to make his way out. Why? Because the system is hard. Because the system is hard.
There was also commendation for the Ghana Police Service, which has increased the number of police personnel patrolling the streets.
Oh, I mean, I don't want to applaud the IGP. Yeah, that way, then deploy the police put for almost every checkpoint. It make we feel safe for the country. Like, though things be tough, but at least they find some comfort that they go about our normal work. That one we all applaud them. You do all IGP. We do our back.
Well, look out for the microphone that gets your views heard. It may soon come to your neighborhood. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Tonight, I want you, yes, you watching me, I want you to look at the man in the mirror. This is to all Ghanaians and to all who have a stake in this country's future. Look at the person staring back at you in the mirror. Have you failed him or her? I'm not talking about your personal lives. No, I'm talking about the collective effort to build this country in a way our forefathers and our children yet unborn will be proud of. Are we truly holding leadership to account to deliver what is expected of them for our collective benefit?
Years ago in my first inauguration, I urged all Ghanaians to be, and I quote, citizens and not spectators, unquote. I appeal to you to be active participants in the effort to help build the Ghana we want.
This was the promise that many, including me, myself, thought would herald a new beginning. In fact, we were all so expectant. But what are we saying now? Are we holding our leaders to account? We're not holding our leaders to account. But who can you blame? Who can you blame? Listen to the finance minister.
And the question was, did we know that this was coming and we did not do anything about it? It just strikes me as odd for us to have this sort of two apocalyptic events in world history, and for somehow all of us to have been able to see it.
So you heard there the finance minister. We'll come back to him. But earlier you heard the president who said that we should be citizens and not spectators. And he said this, and we thought that he would be nonsensical and determined to do right by us. A leader who appeared to be open to criticism by simply saying, don't hold back if you find that I'm charting the wrong track. I mean, 6 years into his tenure, the Akufo-Addo administration has left many scratching their heads as to whether this call to be a citizen and not a spectator was a genuine one or just a show of eloquent speech, which was borrowed, by the way. The point I'm trying to make is, given the call for us to be citizens in the development of our nation, are our leaders truly listening? Do they truly care? Are you and I holding their feet to the fire enough? Or should the populace also be blamed for what we are beginning to see creep into the system? Lethargy. The system has become lethargic, and the voices of a few loud ones are being drowned out by the deafening silence of the masses. Here's why I say so. Economists have predicted that our worst is not over. We are headed for more hardship in the next year, all because of decisions taken by the leadership of this country, which did not inure to our benefit. I won't belabor the point. You're living the hardship already, so you know. Most of you may be experiencing some haircut of some sort because of the proposed debt exchange program, where bondholders like pension funds, banks, and insurance firms will have to exchange their bonds for one that will earn 0 interest next year. And rather than offer a conciliatory posture, you heard what the finance minister had to say earlier. He says, we are all at this point. There's nothing that we can do. So we are caught between a rock and a hard place, certainly. But who brought us to this point? In July this year, the Sri Lankan president resigned after protesters stormed his official residence during demonstrations over the country's worsening economic crisis. So the people there exercise their power. Are we exercising ours? I mean, much of the burden has been placed on the media and civil society, but they cannot do it all alone. People must understand that leaders are there to serve them, not the other way around. And by the way, the call to be citizens and not spectators was made to everyone, not just the media, not just civil society. I mean, of course, it gets tiring when your constructive criticisms and loud calls are ignored by the leadership that ought to take action. Consider the case of the ministers who are MPs, who neglected their duties to go to Qatar to watch football. And to think that at the height of the economic crisis, the ministerial meeting convened at Peduase resolved that there would be no non-essential travels. So was that trip to Qatar so essential? Clearly, the optics were bad, but did they care? So gradually, many people are becoming fatigued because to call out what is wrong, you will be met with verbal attacks or nonchalance and deafening silence or stoic defiance by the government. But must we give up? We can't afford to. Did the Sri Lankans give up? We have all become spectators, just watching, like football fans in Qatar. Let us remind ourselves that we are citizens, not spectators. And let the leadership understand this. A leader who doesn't listen very soon loses his followers.